So good morning, everyone. Just want to be sure that everyone can hear me clearly enough.
We can hear you.
Excellent. So I'd like to welcome you to this session, which has been dubbed Beyond COVID-19, Harnessing the Potential of a Growing Healthcare Industry in Ghana in partnership with German companies. I must mention to you this morning that the event is organized in cooperation with the Special Initiative on Training and Job Creation, which is an initiative of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ. It operates under the brand Investment for Jobs and is implemented, among others, by the GIZ. Just FYI also that this event is being recorded. That is just to make sure that you are aware. Once again, I want to welcome you. My name is John Amuisi. I'm a medical doctor by training, and I sit at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, right here in Ghana, where I'm head of the Community Medicine Department. And I also run my research group, which is the Global Health and Infectious Diseases Research Group from the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research in Tropical Medicine. We're doing a couple of things there, including a lot of COVID research. Very proud to say we're also leading a clinical trial for COVID drugs here in Ghana, which is about the first clinical trial, which would be ongoing here in Ghana. I will go straight into the business of the day. I'd like to just make one quick remark as we move along today, and Stefanie Simon will be giving you a proper welcome address, but just wanted to mention that at the opening of actually the Bank of Ghana, interestingly, in 1957, Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, made a statement. He said, our political independence will be meaningless unless we use it so as to obtain economic and financial self-government and independence. Then he went on to spell out his objectives in that 1957 December broadcast. He said, my first objective is to abolish from Ghana poverty, ignorance, and disease. He said, we shall measure our progress by the improvement in the health of our people, by the number of children in school, and by the quality of education, and so on and so forth. And then he went on to say, the welfare of our people is our chief pride, and it is by this that my government will actually be judged. It's interesting to note how Nkrumah made his first objective addressing poverty, ignorance, and disease. And in my opinion, that's the sustainable development goals right there for you. And he went on and singled out the improvement in the health of the people as his first measure of progress. So I think this morning our focus is very well placed in looking at health, and particularly partnership with the healthcare industry and German companies. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Stefanie Simon, who is head of Competence Center, Private Sector Development and Projects at the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce right here in Ghana, the HK Ghana. So over to you, Stefanie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amuisi. Thank you also for supporting us with your moderation today. We really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining today's virtual event. We, the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Ghana, appreciate the attendance of all speakers, exhibitors, and participants in this first edition of the Healthcare Summit and Trade Fair Ghana, Germany. As the moderator also already mentions, this event is organized in cooperation with the Special Initiative on Training and Job Creation, an initiative of the BMZ, and we greatly appreciate the support by GIZ here in Ghana to organize such events. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to a global health crisis and placed a burden on health systems around the world, also in Ghana. It is projected for the sector to grow quite considerably over the next couple of years. With this summit, we aim to create a platform for German and Ghanaian businesses in the sector to discuss investments and partnerships and to showcase products and services in the virtual exhibition. The delegation of German industry in Ghana wishes you an interesting, informative, and fruitful event. And at this point, I would like to give the word to His Excellency, Mr. Christoph Retzlaff, the German ambassador to Ghana, who will also give his welcome address. Thank you very much for joining us today and have a great event.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsiah Asare, Presidential Advisor on Health, Professor Große, Chairman of SAFRI, Dr. Gyamfi, President, Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Till from GIZ Ghana, Mr. Göhde, Board Chairman of the German Healthcare Alliance, Mr. Simon, Acting Head of German Industry and Commerce in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure joining you today to open this very first healthcare summit and trade fair Germany and Ghana. And I would like to thank all speakers for their participation and all companies for their interest, as well as to give a special thank you to the German Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event, which could obviously not come at a better moment. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID has shown us that global challenges need global answers. The COVAX initiative has shown that the international community is able and willing to respond to global challenges effectively and efficiently. Germany and the EU are the biggest supporters of COVAX with more than 3 billion euros, Germany alone with more than 2.1 billion euros. And we all remember that Ghana was the first country in the world to receive vaccines from this COVAX initiatives a couple of weeks ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana has managed the pandemic well so far, keeping especially the number of casualties low. At the same time, Ghana has recently created the National COVID-19 Vaccine Production Committee, tasked by the President to look into setting up vaccine production in Ghana. One of the important bottlenecks for vaccine distribution is the worldwide limited capacity of fill and finish capacities. Setting up such kind of facilities would not only serve Ghana, but the whole sub-region West Africa. I'm happy to say that there are already initiatives underway, supported by Germany, which look into the feasibility of such capacities in Ghana. Germany would like to see private companies taking the lead in such initiative. Fill and finish capacities are particularly scarce on the African continent, so any new capacity would improve the situation considerably. Ladies and gentlemen, since the topic of today is also to look beyond the pandemic, I'm happy to share a few observations about Ghana's healthcare market for German companies. In 2019, Germany was the third most important source of medical devices imported into Ghana, behind France and China, totaling more than $4 million. Germany exported X-ray devices worth almost $2 million to Ghana, and the growth in Ghanaian imports exceeded the growth in Germany's worldwide exports, which underlines how dynamic the healthcare market currently is in Ghana. In order to increase its preparedness and resilience in the health sector, Ghana has launched Agenda 111, an initiative to build 101 district hospitals, 7 new regional hospitals, as well as psychiatric hospitals. All these new hospitals need to be built, equipped, and maintained. All of this requires innovative and creative financing, and I'm aware of a very recent example of a German company that won a sizable public tender despite strong competition from Asia and South America. You see, it is possible for a European and a German company to be competitive and successful in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, another important development which had started before the pandemic but received a strong push due to the social distancing rules in force all over the world is e-health. Already in 2017 and 2018, Germany supported young startups and entrepreneurs in this field. Some of them presented their projects and ideas to President Steinmeier during his visit to Ghana in 2017 and to Chancellor Merkel when she visited Ghana in 2018. Some of those inventions at the time seemed almost too advanced, like, for example, training artificial intelligence to diagnose lung cancer on X-ray images with more accuracy than any radiologist could. With the pandemic turning our lives digital in the blink of an eye, and today's format is one more proof of this rapid development, e-health received a strong boost, and Ghana is spearheading this development in the region West Africa. Those of you familiar with the country might have picked up the headlines which Zipline, a company delivering crucial medication and blood supplies to rural areas with the help of drones, made late last year. Apart from that, online consultation platforms and other electronic collaboration tools have become more familiar to all of us. Just last week, the Minister of Health in Ghana announced that from the second half of 2021, all government health facilities like teaching hospitals, regional and district hospitals will be connected electronically. Ladies and gentlemen, so to all the companies present today, in particular the German companies, I would like to say Ghana has a huge and growing potential in the healthcare sector. Private and public health facilities are making serious investments in upgrading their capacities, equipment and services, and I would like to invite you to familiarize yourselves with the market and come to Ghana to explore the opportunities. The German Chamber of Commerce, the Embassy, and all the other relevant German players in Ghana, like for instance GIZ, are always at your disposal for advice and support. In concluding, I wish you all a successful event and hope to meet you in Ghana as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Christoph Retzlaff, for that excellent speech, which I think sets the tone for us. Really very strong marketing for Ghana, especially very kind words about how the COVID has been managed, and particularly how German industry is very well positioned to partner with Ghana in moving forward our healthcare sector. And I'm really looking forward to the remaining addresses, and particularly to the panel discussions where we will dive deeper and look at very specific things which should be done and how they should be done to be able to foster this partnership to really deliver these health products that we desire, which is the drugs, the vaccines, the technologies, the innovations within the healthcare delivery system. With that, I'd like to welcome the keynote addresses from a selected number of panelists. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Nsiah, who is presently the Presidential Advisor on Health at the Office of the President. He has worked in leadership roles as a medical superintendent at the hospital, and also as the Chief Executive of the Komfo Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, Ghana, and then most recently as the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. So pretty much spanned the entire gamut of healthcare delivery, right from the district level through to the highest level of healthcare delivery, and now has the ear of the President. And so a very critical voice that would like to hear. Dr. Nsiah, your address.
Thank you very much, John. Your Excellency, the German Ambassador to Ghana, distinguished invited guests, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very much happy and very pleased to be here this morning, and also honored. I bring you greetings from His Excellency, the President, and I bring you greetings from the health sector in Ghana as a whole. This first Ghana-German Health Summit and Trade Fair has come at a very right time, especially at this time that the whole world is reeling with COVID-19 pandemic. As you are aware, COVID-19 pandemic is far more than health crisis. Ghana has not been spared the economic and social impact that the pandemic has visited on our people. It has greatly impacted on government's fiscal policy of the year. And we've all learned lessons. In fact, COVID-19 has come out to show us that the whole world is not safe until we are all safe. That's the reason why addressing global health in this time of our existence on Earth is very, very important. Ghana, as the ambassador said, has tried its best to deal with COVID-19 very well. The government response to COVID-19 is hinged or driven by 4 key underpinnings. We use all society approach. We also use all government approach. We rely heavily on data and science, and also use legislation. And because of that, we've been able to do the 3 T's: tracing, testing, and isolating the positives and treating them, and making sure that we limit importation. But we will reach a stage where we have now seen the gaps that we have in our existing healthcare system. We've realized that we have a lot of things that we have to do, especially infrastructure, human resources, and also logistics. And we want to make sure that we put all these things right so that we get it right when there's another pandemic, which we hope doesn't come very soon. Ghana, therefore, has put in an agenda, as His Excellency the Ambassador said, that we are having a very aggressive agenda, what we call Agenda 111, where we are putting up 101 state-of-the-art district hospitals of intensive care and everything to take care of the severely and critically ill. We are also putting up 7 regional hospitals. We are putting regional hospitals in the 6 new regions, and also in the Western region, and upgrading the Western regional hospital at the moment into a metropolitan hospital. And we want to also add 2 more psychiatric hospitals into the country. We want to set up Ghana CDC, where we can then have a robust system to make sure that Ghana oversees any impending epidemic. And we want to improve the quality of care, especially the care of the severe and critically sick patients across the country. And as the ambassador said, we are expanding the zipline distribution centers. We're adding 4 more. By the middle of the year, end of the middle of the year, we hope to add 2 more distribution centers. And by the end of the year, we hope to add another 2 more. So we have 8 distribution centers, which will serve about 95% of the health facilities in the country. We also want to improve on our system, our healthcare systems in general. And we are also very seriously, as His Excellency said, to start vaccine production and manufacturing. We have already come in contact with GIZ and also visited the embassy, and we are hopeful that we can work together very nicely with the German Chamber of Trade and Commerce. And we are looking up to you to assist us in development, especially of our young researchers, to be able to produce vaccines in this country for the sub-region. I will conclude by saying that we have a huge investment opportunities in the country, and which are untapped, ranging from health facilities, health infrastructure, digital health, pharmaceuticals, and logistics, and also health financing. I'm therefore using this opportunity to invite the German Trade and Commerce and all the investment groups in Germany to come to Ghana. It's a place where you can invest and invest safely, and you will not regret it. On that note, I say welcome, Akwaba, to all of you who are on this summit, and I hope that by the end of the summit, we will come out of blueprint to move Ghana-Germany relationship forward. Thank you, and we wait to see what will happen during the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsiah, Presidential Advisor on Health. Definitely a lot is going to happen today, and I'd like to go straight to Professor Dr. Heinz, who is the chairman of the Sub-Saharan Africa Initiative of German Business, that's the SAFRI. The initiative is jointly supported by the Association of German Chambers of Commerce and Industry, DIHK, the Federation of German Industries, the Federation of German Wholesale, the Foreign Trade and Services, and the German African Business Association. Professor Dr. Heinz, you're welcome to give your keynote address.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amoasi, for this nice introduction. Dear Mrs. Simon, dear Ambassador Retzlaff, honorable speakers, and dear guests, on behalf of SAFRI, as you all know now by the introduction, the Sub-Saharan African Initiative of German Business, I would like to thank you very much for inviting me to give a keynote at this very important conference. First of all, I would like to congratulate you, Mrs. Simon, and your committed team of the German Delegation of Industry and Commerce in Ghana for organizing this event. I'm convinced that the first healthcare summit will be a tender setter, which will be followed by hopefully many events of this kind in the Western African region and maybe even beyond. I would like to express my appreciation to you, Mr. Retzlaff, our German ambassador in Ghana, for opening this unique conference. We know each other from the visit of our President Steinmeier in 2017, and of course, we all hopefully remember the German African Business Summit, which took place in Accra in February of 2019. We had planned the next German African Business Summit exactly at this time at a different place in Africa. And of course, we all had to postpone that. And we will later announce when the next German African Business Summit will hopefully take place. Mr. Ambassador, I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to meet you again today at this occasion. We had a very successful summit 2 years ago with more than 500 participants. And at that time, I still was the CEO of B. Braun Melsungen, one of the world leading companies in the field of healthcare. And I'm very much delighted to see that B. Braun is not only involved in the healthcare market in Ghana, but also supporting this summit. B. Braun is basically active in all 54 states in Africa. And we have our own production facilities in South Africa and now also in Kenya. And we incorporated B. Braun Medical Ghana in June of 2019 as a subsidiary of B. Braun Melsungen and started the full operation in early 2020. B. Braun has been present also in West Africa, as I just mentioned, since many years through export businesses. We also support the building up dialysis facilities in Ghana, and together with the University of Ghana, we have an educational program for medical personnel. Now, the decision to set up an office in Ghana is for B. Braun another milestone on our strategy to expand our business also in Africa. And we also plan mid and long term that we have production facilities in Ghana. Finally, let me congratulate the government and the people of the Republic of Ghana. The Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area will be located in Accra. And we just had a big meeting also on the free trade agreement, and I think we have a big hope into what is developing in this connection. I think this agreement will also expand the treatment among the states in Africa, and will also help the markets and the market in Ghana. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this first healthcare summit and trade fair will offer many opportunities to build linkages between the companies of our two nations. I wish you a very successful outcome of the conference, including inspiring speeches and very fruitful discussions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Heinz Walter from SAFRI, for those opening remarks. I think the stage is almost set now for us to get into our discussion, which we will do very soon, but not without hearing a few more keynote addresses just to help us to understand or to frame the day's activities. I'd like to invite Dr. Gyamfi, who holds a doctorate in pharmacy from the Mercer University in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US, and is a fellow of the West African College for Postgraduate Pharmacists, and also completed an executive MBA at Gyamfi in Ghana. Definitely a leader in pharmaceutical industry in Ghana and Africa, for that matter, with several years of experience, and is well known in Ghana and globally. Dr. Gyamfi, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, John, for the introduction. Your Excellency, German Ambassador to Ghana, thank you for the great work you are doing since you've been in Ghana working with us. The Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Nsiah, Dr. Holger, the Board Chairman of the German Healthcare Alliance, Sir Roland, distinguished ladies and gentlemen participating virtually. It's indeed my pleasure to be part of this important summit and trade fair being organized by the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Ghana, that is the AHK, and its partners. This maiden summit comes on the heels of the ongoing rollout of some vaccines for COVID, and I'm sure this gives us community. Indeed, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is happy at the prospect of Ghana forging bilateral relations with its German counterparts in the area of healthcare. We have no doubt in Germany's expertise in healthcare and research and development. May I seize this opportunity to commend once again the government of Ghana for the efforts towards business recovery amid this pandemic. Today, as we can all attest, our economy is gradually opening up for business, and this has direct impact on the livelihoods and job creation. There couldn't have been a better time than this period to hold this summit and trade fairs under the theme Beyond COVID-19, Harnessing the Potential of the Growing Healthcare Industry in Partnership with German Companies. I do recall how we were all hit by the outbreak of the novel COVID-19 in diverse ways. Indeed, this pandemic and its attendant challenges and subsequent lockdown has seriously affected estimated about 80% of businesses across the country. The situation led business in so much uncertainty. Our medical facilities and the entire healthcare sector have been terribly overwhelmed by the magnitude of the pandemic. Indeed, COVID has taught us so many lessons. It has also exposed serious weaknesses in the global and our local supply chains. Our local economy is heavily dependent on imports to the extent that at least disruption of foreign supplies has devastating effect on our economy. Even looking at the current blockade of the Suez Canal between Asia and Europe by the container ship has put supply chains under serious threat. This is a major sea route that gives cause to worry. I believe foreign partnerships and bilateral relations with German businesses offer a great window of opportunity to Ghanaian businesses for us to explore and adopt innovation and technology-driven approaches in the healthcare. How best we are able to leverage such bilateral relations to meet the growing demands of our healthcare sector is the key. Pharmacy, as a pharmacist, tells me that we can do a lot more with a little innovative technology and technology transfer from our experienced developed countries like Germany. We have had also to adopt stringent cost savings measures in order to survive. We have been under severe pressure to meet demands for a range of medical supplies during the COVID periods. Thankfully, some of our bold public-private interventions included engaging the local manufacturers to produce over 3.6 million face masks domestically, including sanitizers by most pharmaceutical companies in Ghana. The Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana syndication facility of the 3 billion to support industry, especially the pharmaceutical, hospitality, service, and manufacturing sectors, and granting a 6-month moratorium principal repayments on loans for selected business was also a great help. Nonetheless, we are not yet out of the woods, and this is the more reason why the theme of this summit is very relevant going forward. Beyond COVID-19, we owe it a duty as a country to build a resilience and local production capacity to guarantee some level of security for our healthcare sector and livelihoods. We believe that working with companies in Germany have a great impact and therefore will help not only Ghana, but the whole 350 million people in the ECOWAS region. Now with the inception of AFTA, which is the Continental Free Trade Agreement, companies in Germany join hands with local companies in Ghana will really have a great impact, not only in Ghana, but on the continent as a whole. For us to live is to be our brother's keeper. And local companies in Ghana are very ready to work with German companies to build a formidable companies in Ghana to supply the entire continent of Africa with healthcare and meet our needs. With this brief address, I look forward to fruitful panel discussion, and I thank you all for giving me your attention and giving me this opportunity to speak at this summit. Thank you very much.
Dr. Gyamfi, thank you. Dr. Gyamfi, thank you very much for this keynote address that you have given, and particularly your emphasis on the great promise that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement holds for the health sector in Ghana. I'd like to move straight away to Dr. Holger Till, who has about 6 years clinical work experience in surgery and in gynecology in district and regional and university hospitals in Ghana. He's had significant experience working in public health, particularly HIV, prevention of mother-to-child transmission, public-private partnerships at the national level. That's the Ministry of Health or the CIM/GTZ. So definitely Dr. Holger Till is well experienced and positioned to speak on the topic for today, both from the German as well as from the Ghanaian perspective. Dr. Till, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable German Ambassador to Ghana, dear representatives of the delegation of German industries, in short AHK, in German Außenhandelskammer, dear keynote speakers, dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. After we have heard the valuable input of the Honorable German Ambassador, of Dr. Nsiah Asare, the Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Gyamfi and Prof. Große, from the perspective of the Ghanaian and German businesses, I would like to use the opportunity to say some few words on behalf of the German Development Corporation. So more highlighting a little bit on the technical point of view. Today's topic is what? Is harnessing the potential of a growing healthcare industry in Ghana in partnership with German companies. So now, where does the German Development Corporation fit in this topic? As many of you know, in Ghana, the GDC, the German Development Corporation, is working in 3 priority areas, namely energy, governance, sustainable economic development. Meaning health in general is not a priority area, but there's a big but. Especially since the outbreak of the corona crisis worldwide, GIZ is collaborating extensively with the local and international private sector in the area of health here in Ghana. The corona crisis has shown how important it is to work together to support Ghana in the area of health system strengthening. Together with the Ghanaian government, local and international companies, associations, Ghanaian and German academia, civil society organization, other development partners, GIZ is supporting at the moment more than 20 initiatives and projects to strengthen the Ghanaian health system. From supporting the production of PPEs, PPEs is what? Is personal protective equipment, rapid tests, disinfectants, ventilation aids, and fortified food, over setting up digital health solutions, as well as capacity development measures in the area of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, laboratory services, medical maintenance, vaccinology, and intensive care, up to supporting public and private clinics and hospitals in the area of quality health service delivery. The thematic portfolio of GIZ-supported projects in the health industry is widely diversified. In the pipeline, there are 2 substantial strategic alliances with the extractive as well as a non-extractive industry in Ghana to support Ghana in pandemic management, occupational health, and community health. And also, and it has been already mentioned by the Honorable German Ambassador, by Dr. Nsiah Asare, by Dr. Gyamfi, the issue of the local production of vaccines is really a top priority, and GDC, the German Development Corporation, is ready to support this process, and not only to produce COVID vaccines, but also routine vaccines, not only for Ghana, but also for West Africa. And on the personal note, I'm very happy that the head of the vaccine committee, the National Vaccine Committee, is Professor Frimpong Boateng, who was actually 25 years my first boss here in Ghana when I reached here as a young doctor, joining the cardiothoracic unit. So I'm so happy to work again with Prof and his team. Lastly, we are happy to announce that Ghana will be the first country, and this I'm looking straight also to my colleague and friend Roland Göhde, with regard, because Ghana is the first country for a strategic partnership in the framework of an initiative of the German government called Coalition for Health, or short C4H. And I can say Mr. Göhde and so many other colleagues, they played a crucial role, and we thank you very much for Ghana for this, for your effort, because this initiative in partnership with the Ghanaian government will bring together the private and public sector to implement jointly substantial initiatives and projects to strengthen the Ghanaian health system. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that the German Development Corporation is very much committed to support, together with the health industry and all relevant partners, the development of the Ghanaian health system. Don't hesitate to contact GIZ if you're interested in a joint, innovative, and result-oriented cooperation. A big thank you to the delegation of German industries, AHK, and the organizers, and a very, very big thank you to all of you for listening. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Till, for those remarks from the GIZ. Particularly your focus on the contribution this would make to health system strengthening, which is very important because definitely healthcare delivery is one of the major building blocks of the healthcare system. And with that, as you rightly mentioned, I want to move to Mr. Roland Göhde, who is the chairman of the board of the GHA, which is the German Health Alliance, and the senior managing director of Sysmex Partec. I must say that in my research, we use a lot of Sysmex devices. Before he worked at Partec as director, Essential Healthcare Division, and then in 2000, he became Partec's managing partner. And he's a member of the advisory board, UNAIDS Health Innovation Exchange, member of the board of the Africa Bahrain, and chair of the private sector advisory board at the GIZ. Mr. Roland Göhde, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, dear Dr. Amwazi, thank you so much for the very kind introduction. Dear Ms. Simon, Excellency Ambassador, dear Dr. Nsiah Asare, dear Professor Große, dear Dr. Gyamfi, dear Dr. Till, esteemed panelists and distinguished participants, I'm truly honored and delighted to have been very kindly invited to this first Healthcare Summit and Trade Fair Ghana, Germany, for delivering a brief keynote address on behalf of German Health Alliance. And I would like to commend the organizer, the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Ghana, as well as the implementers GIZ and KfW, and all facilitators of today's important event. Both our countries enjoy a long-standing history and an excellent track record of political relations of now 64 years since Ghana's independence, as well as of economic and cultural relations and development cooperation. In 2017, under the German G20 presidency, Ghana has been included in the G20 Compact with Africa, and the bilateral reform and investment partnership has been concluded. And dear Professor Große, at our joint visit, you mentioned it, to Ghana with Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier in December of the same year, 2017, we could repeatedly notice and much appreciate the solid fundament of this development and decision. Global health, especially health system strengthening and health system resilience, build a central pillar of the activities of our German Health Alliance as multi-sectoral initiative with currently 114 leading German member companies and organizations, which has been jointly established by the German government and the Federation of German Industries. Under this light, I would like to highlight that the cooperation between Ghana and Germany also has shown to be of crucial importance when it comes to health system strengthening and a decisive key element of global health. Here, just to mention one major milestone. As a consequence of the Ebola crisis with its peak in 2014, German Chancellor Merkel, together with Ghanaian President Akufo-Addo and Norwegian Prime Minister Solberg, launched the roadmap Healthy System, Healthy Lives, a global initiative to strengthen health systems during the United Nations General Assembly on September 26, 2015. This has been just one day after the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals had been anonymously adopted by United Nations member states with its 17 SDGs, including SDG 3, Healthy Lives for All, and SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic again drastically demonstrates the crucial importance of strengthening health systems and of public and private, and especially public-private partnership-based investments into health infrastructure as prerequisite for pandemic preparedness and control, and overall for any prosperous socio-economic development, which can only stand on strong fundamentals of a healthy population. In this line, and in accordance with the mentioned United Nations SDGs 3 and 17, the German Association of Research-Based Pharmaceutical Companies, VFA, and our German Health Alliance very recently, as mentioned kindly by Dr. Till, have initiated the Coalition for Health. By close multi- and trans-sectoral cooperation with partner countries and German governmental ministries and institutions, this initiative is intended to establish an impact mechanism targeted to achieve significant improvements towards quality-oriented, need-based and resilient health systems with non-discriminatory access, leaving no one behind. We are extremely delighted that for the Coalition for Health, Ghana now has been proposed and selected as first partner country. And in this context, just a few days ago, together with GIZ in Ghana and Germany, we already conducted the first in-depth expert round with leading representatives of the Ghanaian government and public sector. On the occasion of MedTech Chamber Africa's foundation end of last year, a truly excellent and important, highly commendable achievement, dear colleague Mr. Eric Ozay. At this occasion, Minister of Health, Honorable Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, underlined the commitment to achieving universal health coverage. In this context, the minister mentioned the government's focus on modernization and retooling of existing facilities, rationalizing the construction and siting of additional purpose-built facilities, and promoting the availability and use of high-quality assistive devices and technologies. In this respect, the German private sector is readily available and very much looking forward to increasing its engagement and cooperation in and with Ghana. Together with the Ghanaian government and public sector and key partners like the MedTech Chamber Africa, we can jointly shape a decisive contribution to ensure high-quality healthcare delivery in Ghana and beyond in the West African region. Very obviously, there's a very special moment under which it will be highly potential and fruitful to now bundle, interconnect, and streamline our diverse efforts and activities. In this respect, today's event undoubtedly will significantly contribute to this goal. Now, wishing all of us a most insightful exchange and inspiring discussions, as well as very interesting and successful encounters at the virtual exhibition. Thank you so much for your very kind attention.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Roland Göhde, for those remarks, particularly again insightful how you frame this within the health system strengthening agenda, which I think is really critical and also very important because this cannot be pursued in isolation. It really must employ a systems approach if we want to be as effective as possible. And if I would recall, I believe there was mention of the error in following vertical systems as opposed to horizontal, more health systems approaches. So I'm really excited to see that we are sharing this way of thinking, and definitely the right way to go. We need to go in straight away to our first panel discussion. We are running significantly behind time, but this was only anticipated, so I'd like to crave your indulgence. And this first panel discussion really is going to focus on COVID-19 in Ghana, which is a very important subject that we cannot avoid talking about as we look at harnessing the potential of growing the healthcare industry in Ghana in partnership with German companies. And for this, I have a distinguished panel of Dr. Franklin Aseidu-Bekoe, who is Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Professor Peter Donkor, who is the President-elect of the West Africa College of Surgeons, Dr. Gyamfi, who's already spoken and is the President of the AGI, and Nana Osei-Bonsu, who's the representative of WAPSCON, and again, Dr. Anthony Asare, who is the Presidential Advisor at the Office of the President, Presidential Advisor on Health. This session is going to be interactive among the panelists. I'll be asking a couple of questions, asking for their comments on various things. There happens to be a chat box, so you're really encouraged, if you would, to put your chat in there. If you have any comments or questions, just post them there. I cannot guarantee that I'll be able to field all the questions. But if you have some contribution you may want to make, and you're definitely welcome to do this via the chat box as well. If you're non-panelists, I think it would be very helpful if you're able to mute your microphone and then also to turn off your video. So if you're a non-panelist, you can mute your microphone and turn off your video as well. All right, so thank you very much for that. We're going to go straight into the discussion for today. I'd like to start off by saying that Ghana was very successful in evading Ebola, even though it hit the West African sub-region very hard. And the predictions were that Ghana would be next on the list, especially after Liberia was badly affected, and Sierra Leone as well, especially when you look at the air traffic. In fact, if you look at the modeling work that was done by scientists, Ghana was perhaps at the highest risk of being the next on the list with an Ebola epidemic, but this did not happen. A number of measures and structures were put in place as part of pandemic preparedness, and some of these have been attributed or have been said to have contributed to Ghana's relative success in being able to avoid the severe impact of the pandemic, as we've seen in other parts of the continent, and particularly in Europe and in North America. I'd like to start off with my first panelists for today. And this time the focus on COVID-19. Dr. Franklin Aseidu-Bekoe is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service. Of course, he's a medical doctor and a public health physician, specialized in applied epidemiology and disease control. Been working for the past 20 years and has experience in surveillance, field investigations, research, data management, and several other aspects of health and research. And I'd like to ask you, just based on my initial presentation, do you think that all these things I mentioned with Ebola and what we put in place and Ghana's positioning, that these really made a contribution to the COVID picture that we've seen in Ghana? And of course, His Excellency, the Ambassador, mentioned very unequivocally how Ghana has done well in managing COVID. Has it just been a stroke of luck, or you think there were some very specific things that have distinguished Ghana and the success, relative success that we've seen in managing COVID? Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning to other panelists. Let me say that Ghana, over the past 4 or 5 years, started to get ourselves prepared for public health emergencies in the country. So we have an emergency preparedness system that looks at thematic areas. So we are looking at port of entry, surveillance, case management, laboratory, risk communication. So these are the blocks that you need to make sure that you occupy for public health emergencies. So some of these thematic areas were somehow well prepared or somehow prepared for this COVID. So one is the surveillance system. Clearly, we have a surveillance system that runs from the community up to the district, to the region, to the national level. And then let me also say that it's somehow intertwined with a manual and electronic system. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank the German government, to AZI and GIZ, that we have an electronic system. It used to be a pilot system, but now because of COVID, it's now electronic. So it's now nationwide. So we have electronic system for surveillance, which cuts across all parts of the country. So for surveillance purposes, we have that system in place. And then a laboratory, we have 2 main labs in the country, KCCR and Kumasi, and then the Gucci. So these 2 labs are international labs that are able to confirm any particular pathogen. So these labs were already present in the country. So when we had COVID, we had one big advantage, the capacity to detect and confirm, which was very good, because if you are not able to confirm, you are not sure of the endemicity of the problem in your country. But we had a bit of a challenge in terms of case management. It's about the facilities to manage the cases. I remember when we started having the COVID, we had just 2 main centers in Accra, and which has now improved over a period of time. But then if we look also at our port of entry, our main port of entry is the Kotoka International Airport, which is somehow equipped, that was set in place to be able to detect a case which occurred. So in that case, our port of entry was somehow not bad. Our surveillance system was a bit sensitive to detect the case which should occur. But we had a challenge with our case management. So the idea was that if you want to be able to survive, we need to expand our case management facilities. In that case, we need to make sure we have enough beds and then the human resource to do it. So by and large, you will say that we had a system in place. I won't say it was optimal, but then there's a system that was there to detect and then to contain, though it was in minute proportions. And then we have somewhat risk communication apparatus in place. Let me say that Ghana has a very vibrant media that at times can be somehow deceptive. But then we also try to get all players on board to make sure that we're able to address the challenges. And then the last but not least is the involvement of the private sector. The private sector has been crucial for 2 main reasons. One, our laboratory capacity has actually grown from just 2 labs as we started to now over 30 labs. And let me say that more than half of these labs are private. So it tells you the involvement of the private sector to support this response. Then we didn't have an infectious disease center in the country, but by virtue of the private sector fund, we now have one such facility. So clearly, as I speak now, I will say that if you want to look at Ghana's preparedness in terms of thematic areas, I think that somehow we've crossed the minimum pass mark, and I think that we can get better with time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. I think you've really touched on very critical areas that make a strong case, suggesting that the relative success that Ghana has had in managing COVID has not been a stroke of luck, but actually a combination of what I call serendipitous happenings, as well as very deliberate efforts. And with that, I want to move straight to Dr. Nsiah, who I will not introduce because I already did so during the first session. And Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe, I'll come back to you a bit later. Because Dr. Nsiah, you were at the time of the Ebola crisis also the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. You've had significant experience in Ghana working at the district level and at the teaching hospital level as well. I want you to maybe describe in further detail, particularly how some of the efforts Ghana might have put in place with regard to our preparedness have contributed to what we see in COVID today. I do recall it was during your time as DG of the Ghana Health Service that the SORMAS activity began, and I was fortunate to be part of the launch of SORMAS. And of course, SORMAS is originating from the Helmholtz Institute in Germany. And the brain behind SORMAS, incidentally, I work closely with him. I co-supervise one of his PhD students who happens to be from Ghana. We also spoke about, and Franklin spoke about, the relationship with the labs in Ghana, and particularly at KCCR, where I sit, which is very directly linked with the Menanocht Institute in Hamburg, Germany. So the interconnections are there. But are there any very, very specific actions that were taken pre-COVID that might have contributed to our preparedness and our ability to manage the response adequately?
Yeah, thank you very much, John. As Dr. Franklin Aseidu-Bekoe said, we were prepared. Ghana has prepared itself for any epidemic for even before COVID came in. You remember very well when the Ebola scare was in West Africa, we all knew it may come to Ghana one day. And a lot of lessons that we are now practicing during the COVID-19 period is also from Ebola. A lot of people were trained. A lot of people went to Sierra Leone and Liberia to assist, and Guinea to assist. So they are all aware of emergency preparedness and how we manage emergencies. But since Ebola was notified by WHO in January 2020, we did a lot of things, which first we set up the National Technical Coordinating Committee. Ghana also activated the Emergency Operations Center for COVID-19. And we also activated all the regional public health emergency committees, which have all been trained, and the district response teams have already been trained. And I remember as a Director General of Ghana Health Service, I was in Kumasi one day to inaugurate all the trained district emergency response teams. So we have a system in place already, which we were relying on. And from the word go, as Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe said, we put things in place, taking advantage of what we did during the Ebola period. And the public, we started sensitizing the public. And we focused more on public education and sensitization and the public engagement. And then the media was also prepared for this pandemic. So if you look at it all, what we did was all the things that we put in place in the previous years, we spoke about the SORMAS. SORMAS is a digital system where we collect all the data and then use the data to drive whatever we are doing. And another important thing was leadership. So when all these things were done, quickly His Excellency the President also put in place a task force, a presidential task force, which he chairs himself. And we're meeting almost every day. I remember very well when our labs, our two labs, Noguchi and KCCR, start testing, and we're not seeing any patients. The press were on us that is it that Noguchi and KCCR are not very good labs and they are not identifying anybody until the 12th of March when we identified the two people who came from outside. And there's something that we also did. We have done a lot of things as the first to do it in the world. For example, pool testing system. I'm sure maybe you ask a question about that. We're the first country to do pool testing, so that we took advantage of pool testing to test a lot of people to know the dynamics of the virus in Ghana. And then we locked down also some parts of the country where we call the hotspots to also study and then understand the dynamics of the virus in Ghana for 3 weeks, and then we open it up. And then we continue also banning a lot of activities wherever people come together. And the government also appointed a coordinator for the COVID activities, because we realized that COVID, as I said initially during my opening address, that COVID is not only a health issue. COVID is a socioeconomic issue. It cuts across the whole of the society. So we're using 4 thematic areas where we depended on. And that was all government approach, all society approach. His Excellency the President has given 24 updates or addresses. He pulls the people together. After listening to everybody, the science and the data behind it, he comes, broadcasts to the nation, and that always ginger the people and then work everybody up to follow whatever we are doing, any measures that you put in place. And we're also involving all the sectors. It's an intersectorial approach. And as I said earlier, we're also depending on the data and science, which the team will tell us, and also looking at the science in other parts of the world. And then we back everything by legislation, because if you want to do restriction, we have to invoke the public health law, we have to put a restrictions act and all sorts of things together. So these were the 4 things which move us together until date. The task force still meets. So we had experience from Ebola, as you rightly said. We learned from Ebola. We had also strengthened our institutions that we have before, and even added more by the participation of the private sector. So the private sector also assisted. We moved them on, and we've been working together with the private sector. I'm sure Nana will say something about the private sector. And we have what we call the WASCON, which we normally join their webinar conferences to learn what they are doing and make sure that we integrate everybody together. And as Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe said, we work straight from the sub-district level to the district level, the regional level, before it comes to the national level. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for that, Dr. Nsiah. I think this provides even greater clarity to what might be behind Ghana's relative success, and it will be very interesting to see some of these things written up. I'm glad the session is being recorded as well, so we can gain more insights and actually use this to improve our prediction and prevention arsenal, which I will be discussing in a bit. But you made mention of a couple of things, Dr. Nsiah, together with Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe, in relation to the preparedness by way of training of healthcare personnel. And this is where I'd like to move over to Professor Peter Donkor, who is a professor and a consultant oral maxillofacial surgeon at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I also sit. And he is the president-elect, as I said, of the West Africa College of Surgeons. He's been former Pro-Vice Chancellor at the KNUST, Director of Office of Grants and Research, and also former Provost of the College of Health Sciences. And with your experience, both as an academic and also as a healthcare practitioner, with Ebola and then also with COVID, a lot of effort has been put into preparing healthcare personnel. So in one breath, you could say that healthcare personnel, academics, all that have been pretty prepared for this pandemic and through this pandemic. But on the other hand, there's been a severe impact on healthcare delivery with surgeries on hold important clinics not being able to run as they would, like the HIV clinic, the TB clinic, the hypertension clinics, and the diabetes clinics, and so on. So in one breath, a lot of preparedness and readiness and improvement in our skills and knowledge, and on the other hand, a negative impact on the healthcare sector. How would you really describe how we're able to sort of walk the fine line of being both prepared and also, going down in another aspect? And how would you say we could sort of even this so that we don't suffer too much? Professor Donkor.
Good morning, John, and thank you very much for having me on this panel. Yes, it's interesting to hear my colleagues who have spoken earlier and their take on this, and focusing specifically on the educational component, especially the training. What I would say is that the COVID has had an impact on human resources in health. For one thing, healthcare workers have directly been affected by the disease, and some of them have had secondary effects and therefore are no longer available to actually provide service. Some of them have gone through forms of stress, from depression and so on and so forth, which they actually never expected, and therefore they are learning to cope and reintegrate themselves back into service. From the point of view of training institutions and their contribution to the human resource space, a lot of cadres have been trained in the health sector, both at the pre-service and the postgraduate level. But what is very clear is that and that is perhaps a failing on the part of all of us, because there has not been a real collaboration between the educational sector and the health sector, where we train for purpose and therefore we focus more on integrating them into the community properly and making sure that at the very outset they see themselves as coming out to work as a team, and rather than create silos where they build empires. And so I think what sometimes becomes very clear is when we faced with these pandemics, and as did happen here, you often have doctors speaking for themselves, nurses speaking for themselves, and thankfully through the work of the National COVID Task Force, I think a lot of the various sectors were able to be pulled together to make the requisite contribution to health provision. Now, what we have to deal with now is to even begin to think of all the backlog of untreated conditions that built up during the era of COVID. I mean, COVID led to a shift of our attention away from the other conditions that really marked the day-to-day provision of care. And now we all, just for survival, focus our attention on COVID. Fortunately, the signs are that COVID is going to go away and that we're all going to be fine. But then we'll still have to deal with the surgical conditions which are untreated. We're still going to deal with the chronic ailments that assail us. We still have to build confidence in our population who need to find the confidence to come back into the health sector and receive treatment. And so we need to strategize and say, hey, can this backlog be handled just by the public sector alone? Is there a role, for instance, for the private sector to partner with, say, surgical groups to, say, provide outreach services in the rural communities for the provision of surgical treatment? I think we need to also begin to look at looking at maybe that One Health approach. We have to look at information systems and how beneficial they are and how practical they are. And these national surveillance systems that are in place We need to be able to track where the data is and how readily accessible the data is. We need to begin to re-examine our national health insurance scheme in particular and how much it actually addresses the needs of the person who reaches out for care. So I think I'll say that we need to have continued dialogue between the health sector, educational sector, and all other sectors in order for our patients to benefit from the post-COVID era. And then we also have to look at rehabilitation. What efforts are being made to rehabilitate those who are incapacitated by COVID? So I'd like to just stop for now, and hopefully there will be other opportunities to make further comments. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Donkor, for those comments, particularly on how COVID has negatively affected the healthcare delivery sector, particularly the human infrastructure. And so now we have inputs on the human infrastructure from Professor Donkor, and largely on the physical infrastructure, the preparedness set up from Dr. Nsiah and Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. And this is where I want to bring in also the comments from the private sector. I always say that the private sector is a critical player in healthcare, and whatever investment the private sector makes, they're very particular on making sure that they can produce palpable results, what I call in-your-face results. So the private sector is often focused on providing infrastructure, facilities, vehicles, and so on. Ultimately, though, healthcare impact is really measured in morbidity and mortality and other indices, which would ultimately translate into improved livelihoods. As I mentioned in my opening comments, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president, was really focused on having his government be judged by improvements in the health of the people. And that being said, I'd like to ask, starting with you, Dr. Gyamfi, whom I've already introduced, so I'll not go any further. From where you sit, leading the Association of Ghana Industries, how would you say, or what would you like to see government to the private sector being able to play a role not only in the physical infrastructure, because this is happening to some degree, but also in the human infrastructure, the building of capacity, not only in health, but also in research, particularly around the capacity to predict and also to be able to prevent pandemics. From your viewpoint, Dr. Gyamfi.
Well, thank you, John, for the opportunity again. What is happening to the private sector of Ghana today is that a lot of companies are really willing to grow. We are willing to train to become form partnership with academicians. But what is happening is that as we speak now, there is no really any company into research and development as we speak, be it in the pharmaceutical sector or even the real healthcare. You saw that we're really happy with the COVID-19. A lot of private sector companies even jump into the wagon and establish new laboratories even to take care of the COVID-19 testing. NAHO is in place, ICA is in place. There's more than 6 of companies already, even right now, even as we speak. 9th of April, we are even open our PCR lab for testing, which means that a lot of private sector are very interested in growth. What is happening is that usually it boils down to financing and most of the things that we can do to expand the market share, which most of us, what we are always asking is that, will the government give us opportunity to work with them in terms of helping us to build a bridge between our academicians and us? Most companies are willing to train the future students coming, whether it be in the biochemistry, the medical student, the pharmaceutical. But what happens is that most of our machines, even in those who are already in operation, are old. And what comes is more comes to basically capital injection for us to revamp these companies to grow. I would like to see in my dream that at least there will be a collaboration between local companies and German companies in terms of technology transfer. When they come in areas of research and development, so many products, when we come even, look at, herbal products. A lot of herbal products, even as we speak, there are about 48 herbal drinks in the country. But that's all it ends. There's much more development of these herbal products. If we can have German companies willing to say, okay, can we active ingredients of these herbals and develop them to become products, then I think the private sector will really be in the headway in terms of growth. So from my end up here, all that I'm just saying is that most of our private sector are eager to grow. And our growth will come whereby we can have capital injection, or whereby there'll be terms of credit facility for us to get the equipment that is needed for our growth in terms of expansion, in terms of also being able to meet the needs of our people. And I think that is really a headway that we are all looking forward to work. The government has so much they can do, but there's more that they can also bite. So what we are all looking forward is having collaboration with companies in Germany or other countries to be able to develop private sector in order to support the public sector of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gyamfi. I think you touched on a very critical area, which is the area of credit facilities and perhaps advanced market commitments, which would often come from governments, in being able to partner with companies, German companies, to be able to invest in transfer of technology and in research. I know you are an ardent supporter of transfer of technology, and you've been doing this at the international level for the past, over a decade. And you certainly understand the challenges that have been involved with this. I'm particularly concerned about this area because as we go more global, the standards are set and the standards are very high. So a local industry in Ghana, starting off, would have to start off at a very high level because the standard will not necessarily be lowered. And to really operate at that high level, meet all the GMP and all the other requirements, requires significant investment. And this is where I want to bring in Nana Osei-Bonsu, who is a representative of WAPSCON. Nana did all his training in the US in economics, studied in Brooklyn, and at Fordham also in arts and sciences with a degree in international finance. And he has extensive banking experience in the US, notably with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the State Banking Department. And he's lending his experience and exposure to the work on COVID. And I believe he's adequately placed to comment on where and how, actually, not just where, the investments need to be made. And I want to be very specific, Nana, this time on our capacity to be able to predict and to be able to prevent, because what really matters is having the eyes that can see ahead and put in place the measures to be able to prevent the pandemic. There's no point in being able to control the pandemic when it really occurs, but prevent it from happening, and this requires significant investments. Nana, what would be your comments on that?
Thank you very much, and good morning. I think what I want to say is that the Private Enterprise Federation is very grateful for the engagement in this platform. But as you said, that I'm coming on the back of the West African Private Sector COVID-19 platform, of which Dr. Nsiah is a member. He mentioned it earlier on in his presentation. What we had done is engage various government agencies, Noguchi, FDA, Minister of Trade, Minister of Health, in looking at the pandemic and what the private sector can do. One of the presenters indicated that before COVID or just after COVID, we only had 2 laboratories, medical facilities. Now we have elaborate, succinct, exquisite, various laboratories, including Lancet in Accra. And these are providing various facilities to combat the pandemic. how do we prevent in the future? Prevention, I don't know if we have the capacity, or as of now, we will be able to develop the capacity, but at least there's no end to what human nature can do. The preparedness for the future after COVID is a partnership arrangement between German counterparts and the Ghanaian. The kind of resources that Dr. Gyamfi mentioned, whether we have it or not, is basically based upon government creating the incentive package that private sector from Germany, from everywhere, coming to partner with government and Ghanaian counterparts. Now, the reason we're saying that is under the Continental Free Trade Arrangement, there's one point that Continental Free Trade is hinged on rules of origin. So if you providing or developing in Germany and exporting to Ghana, it won't qualify under the CFTA. But if you're creating that in any African country where a certain percentile of the input of the material, then that qualifies under the Continental Free Trade. So what we're trying to see is enhancement of the with their technical skills and competency, engaging Ghanaians with our resource material and be able to develop. Now, I want to personally take this request to thank Dr. Nsiah, the presidential advisor, for saving my life. I'm a recovering COVID-19 patient. I collapsed in my house. If it weren't for Dr. Nsiah, I wouldn't have made it to today. So I'm very grateful to you, sir. And I want everybody to thank him for saving my life, because once I collapsed, I was carried in ambulance facility that took care of me in intensive care facilities. So this is where we have to look at. Post-COVID, once you identify as a patient, the treatment, the follow-up, data that we have to be able to collect, the comparative analysis of what kind of treatment you're undergoing, whether it's effective or not. People passed on basically because they didn't get the necessary tools. So whilst we're looking at it, we have to lean on the German expertise, the foreign, to enlist kind of the local doctors and facilities to be able to identify the data collection, critical, the follow-up of treatment. These are some of the things that I think that the private sector can take and bear and bring to, bear on the medical profession. What we're also looking for is us on the Agenda 111. Yes, Agenda 111, we can build all we want, but if we do not create the human capacity to appreciate and train them well. If we recall, when we were young, doctors coming from Germany were touted as the best in the world. I don't know what happened along the way. Now we're going back to engage with the Germans and say, okay, now give us your training capacities, give us your various things that you can do in the medical field, in the research angle. The research is also very critical. Noguchi is doing well. FDA is identifying various research centers. When the COVID broke, I remember we engaged the West Africa private sector COVID-19 platform, of which I'm the chairman, or the Private Enterprise Federation occupies the chair. We engage Noguchi, we engage FDA, we engage the what do you call the foreign business organization. We engage the Germans and everybody. And then we went around the Accra, at least that's where we were, to engage various private sector medical facilities. They had, what they could do, what they needed. Out of that, we were able to license through the Ministry of Health a lot of facilities to be able to participate in the COVID-19. And as I said, Dr. Nsiah, being the lead presidential advisor on the platform, is also working with us to learn about what private sector wants to do, what we can do, and what we need from the side of the government to participate in this delivery of the services that I think can enhance the medical delivery of services to Ghanaian populace. So in this, I'll just end up because a lot of the players have said a lot of these things, and I don't want to belabor the point. But we need to engage the Germans and the Ghanaian businesses. Let's not put partnership between the Germans, government, private sector locally is what the way to go.
Thank you very much, Nana, for those comments. You actually provided an excellent segue, which I needed to move the discussion forward. And I'll be coming to Dr. Nsiah teeing off on some of the comments he made. And again, Dr. Nsiah, thanks from Nana for saving his life, literally. He wants the whole world to know this, and so I'll amplify that. You touched on a couple of things, Nana, particularly on research into post-COVID and long COVID. I'm happy to let you know that there's work going on in this. As a researcher myself, as a physician researcher, I actually am involved in developing some of the protocols for studying long COVID. It's actually been published, will come out soon. And I was part of the committee that looked at preparing these international protocols for looking at long COVID. We are still looking for the funds actually to implement these long COVID protocols. Our research teams have actually developed set up for following up patients and being able to measure and trying to understand the impact of long COVID in Africa, which we still do not know. At least we know in Europe about 7 out of 10 people who recover from COVID end up with long COVID symptoms, which lasts for a variable period of time. And it's really important that we understand how this works in Africa. And with that, and a couple of things you said, it suggests that there is an important link between research and healthcare delivery, both to inform how we deliver the healthcare in the acute phase like COVID, and then beyond that in terms of health maintenance. And of course, you trained in the US, you understand the concept of health maintenance organizations or HMOs and all that, but we're not going there today. So I'd like to ask you, Dr. Nsiah, what can government do specifically to promote private sector relationship in the healthcare industry between Ghana and Germany, which would bridge the research healthcare delivery gap? I sit at KCC as a researcher. My research is funded by German organizations. I work closely with the Bernard Nock Institute. We're working on Ghana's first clinical trial, the ANICOV trial, together with the Bernard Nock Institute in Hamburg. But we need the government support. I'm a researcher, I need the government support. Nana is a private sector man, he needs the government support. Can you tell me what specifically government is doing and plans to do to bridge this research healthcare delivery gap that we have identified?
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Yes, what government is doing is to put some budget allocation for research. It has become even more crucial, especially since you want to go into vaccine production and manufacturing. Research and development is very crucial if you want to do vaccine development and production. Luckily, the course of last week, I think last week, Friday or Thursday, I had a chance of going with the chairman of the vaccine production committee, Professor Frimpong, to the German embassy. We met His Excellency, the ambassador. We had very fruitful discussion, which have been followed up. And we hope that we'll get our young researchers to go for attachment. And the German want to touch on the German know-how to be able to get very good people who go into research and also development. That is the basis of anything that we want to do. But to be able to start vaccine production here in this country, what we need quickly is maybe to just go for the low-hanging fruits, which are the fill and finish, which we want to do. And I'm very happy to say that the German ambassador received us nicely with the GIZ representative in Ghana. And we are planning a way that we can get a lot of our young researchers, our young medics, our young scientists to get attachment and training in Germany to start this. But from the COVID fund and also from the COVID Trust Fund, we've been trying in our own small way to also fund some research. And I think John knows about that, which we are trying to do for everybody. And then we've also formed a group. There's a group within the health sector who is a group, a committee, a small group on research and development. Especially we want to do research in post-COVID. COVID is a very novel disease and we have to know what happens after COVID infection. And even after the whole COVID is over, what is next? And Professor Donkor also said, we have also lost a lot of time, especially with clinical care. We have to also research into all these things and find out what actually happened in our health services. And there's an adequate preparation and budget which have been made. In the money, we've also gone from World Bank to put it into research and development. So this is what the government is doing, and government is very ready to work together with the private sector, and especially with the German community, to be able to put their expertise at the disposal of our young researchers. We want to develop a lot of researchers in this country. We want to develop a lot of physicians in this country. We want to develop a lot of nurses, pharmacists, to be able to care for the severe and the critically ill. What has come to fore? That the few patients that we lost to COVID were due to the care of the critically ill and the severe ill. On that note, what we are doing is we've joined together all the three colleges, College of Physicians and Surgeons, College of Nursing, and College of Pharmacists, to come out with a training model, a 2-week training model, both 1 week didactic, 1 week practicals, to be able to go and teach the carers. We will bring the care team together, take them through didactic lectures for 1 week, and then they go to some sites to teach them even how to handle and how to manage patient who is on oxygen. So these are some of the things that we are spending money on. These are some of the things that we are putting as our part of our priority to care for the care of the sick, in addition to the production of PPEs, pharmaceuticals. And also I'm hoping that the German Trade and Commerce will also look at even health financing, because if you have health infrastructure, we want also the private sector to be also go into more of putting up well-resourced hospitals in this country. But they can only do that when somebody pays for it. And that's where health financing comes in. There are people in this country, when they are sick, when they even have headache, they rush outside. But we can catch all of them here in this country and manage them here. And then on that note, we'll be moving towards medical tourism in the sub-region. We are well placed in the sub-region to be able to provide this leadership in healthcare in the sub-region. And this is why what we are trying to charge I've always been talking to Nana and his group, the private sector, to go into proper healthcare industry, to proper hospitals, and also have standalone hospitals where they can be competing with government even for human resources. Not a way that you have a small clinic and then you take the few people and circulate those who are in the public sector. The public and the private sector should be competing for healthcare professionals. And that's what my dream is, and that's what I want to see to come in the next few years as we move towards both production and also human capacity building, human development building, and also infrastructure building in this country. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. Yes, sorry for the delay. I was having a tech challenge. No, I really appreciate your comments, and I'm almost wondering whether all the panelists are reading my notes, because they seem to be just following the thread. And maybe just suggest that the thinking is pretty much along the same lines, and we pretty much know what the problems are, what needs to be done. We need to articulate these more. So that those who have the power to effect change and to pick on some of these ideas would be able to do so. And I trust that already some of these are being noted down carefully. You touched on a critical area, which seems to be the human infrastructure. You cannot do without this. Really, the capacity to be able to do is critical. For vaccine production, this is maybe singularly the most important component. And I say this with a clear example, as we've seen globally, the development of vaccines, how academia and the human resource has come in with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, developed essentially by academics in Oxford, some of whom I know personally, who partnered with the pharmaceutical industry to produce this vaccine. Even with the world's largest COVID clinical trial, which brought forward the information, the knowledge that corticosteroids, dexamethasone specifically, is highly effective at reducing the risk of death by 1/3 was the recovery trial in the UK, again run by academics at Oxford. And I'm happy to give you just a pre-announcement that recovery trial may be coming to Ghana very soon. I'm just concluding discussions with colleagues at Oxford to be able to run recovery trial in Ghana. We should be putting in the applications very soon. But that being said, I want to come again to Professor Peter Donkor, because with this aspect of training and building up the human infrastructure, it means that both the healthcare sector, the healthcare delivery sector, as well as academia need to be closely linked. And with your experience at the university as former provost of the College of Health Sciences, former director of the Office of Grants and Research, and now the president-elect of the West Africa College of Physicians, or West Africa College of Surgeons, what would you say are some of the investments or the attention that needs to be placed in the private sector? I'm saying this between Ghana and Germany for training purposes. Training purposes not only in the hard sciences, but also in the industry side. People need to be well trained in the hard sciences, and then they move to industry and they work there to develop new or to operationalize the ideas to a very high standard. So what would you recommend under the auspices of this forum in terms of the investments and activities that need to be taken on between Ghana and Germany for human infrastructure? Professor Donkor.
Okay. Thank you, John. That's a very good question. Well, with regard to human infrastructure development, I think what we need to appreciate is that it's often very difficult to say, I'm going to invest in this particular cadre, and this is exactly what I'm going to get out of it. I think as academics, what we do is to open people's minds through various trainings and allow them to just literally run with their minds and be creative, look at the world around them, the environment where they find themselves, and then solve problems. You know, industry is there to support the community in solving its problems, and academia should identify the gaps in research and inform academia. I think I heard Dr. Gyamfi actually complain about the lack of research collaboration, I think, between industry and academia. This is something that we need to, going forward, address, because we need to get our trainees, for instance, to be able to appreciate that maybe even to come up with the research problem, we need to talk to those in industry. So how do our German colleagues help us? Our German colleagues can help support a lot of our graduate training through perhaps the award of some PhD opportunities, some attachments of our trainees in German industries, just so that they can understand how industry and academia can work together. But beyond that, we also have to encourage our own universities to reach out to some of these international bodies and say, look, you know what, we cannot do it alone in Ghana. We need not only local collaboration, we need international collaboration, because that's now, we live in a global world. And so I'm really hopeful, and I mean, coming specifically to my own area of surgery, and I would say, for instance, that West African College of Surgeons, as an example, and even Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, the work that we're involved with is training specialists, specifically specialists who are to go out there and deliver care, and often they find that they have to create local solutions to the problems that they find there, and there are ways of innovating in such a way that perhaps some of the high-tech things that may not necessarily be applicable in our setting, we may find alternative solutions to that. It's just a matter of putting our great minds, young minds, young research minds together with our German counterparts, and then they tapping these resources and finding potential solutions to our ongoing technological problems in health. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Prof. Donkor, for that. Your last sentences provide me with a good way to switch and go to Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. And it really, I was going to focus on technology for the future, pandemic preparedness, and how technology, digitization, and others would really pave the way. Germany has been a leader in technology development and applications. And I'd like to find out from you, Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe, what are some of the critical needs that we currently have within the healthcare delivery sector in Ghana, especially around digital technologies, which we would need to focus on, and which collaboration with German company, German industry would be able to provide. Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe, towards specifically pandemic preparedness in the future.
Yes, thank you very much, John. I think that let me say that since we are going to have more of pandemics, we need to clearly look at the scope of our preparedness. You know, Ghana has a reasonable number of borders or point of entries that are unapproved. So the idea is that how do we use existing technologies to make sure that we have a clear idea of our borders. I think that's one area that we would like to make sure that we build on collaboration with our German counterparts, how best they can help us, particularly to man our borders. Then I think that we also want to talk about our surveillance system. I think that I said that through our collaboration or partnership with AZI, we have this system, the SORMAS. But I think that we still would like to see how better other collaborations can improve in that perspective. I mean, we realize in that era of artificial intelligence. So how do we rely on all of this expertise to broaden our ability to enhance our cellular system to be more sensitive to early detect? I think that's also one area that we would want to see. In terms of the lab, I think that our two main labs are doing well, but we want to make sure that we have our national lab. And let me say that we are having a basic labs, but we want to see the capacity of our labs being built so that in the absence of our basic labs, our national labs can also be able to stand the test of time that we can actually be used to function when there's a big pandemic. For one thing which came clear for this outbreak or this pandemic was the availability of the critical staff to man very severe and critical cases. So I think that's also one area that we would like to rely on our German counterparts to build our capacity, particularly in the areas of anesthesiology. And I think that Dr. Asare did quite a lot when he was the CEO of Anoche. We would like to have more of our experts trained in those areas. Then I think that one thing that we want to have a general idea is how do we share the expertise between the two countries? How do we manage our pandemics? We have some strengths because when it comes to area of like contact tracing, these are things that we have been doing in the time past. But I think that we can actually rely on each other. How do you transfer technology and knowledge so that we can get the expertise from both angles to build on our efficiencies? I think that those are the areas that we would like to see how best we can be well prepared for the next pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. Nailed it right on the head there. So there you hear some of the requests and the recommendations from the Ghana Health Service, particularly in the application of technologies towards the being more prepared for pandemics in the future, because pandemics will come. In fact, we did see COVID coming. I recall I was part of a group that was exploring this WHO blueprint, and we were actually expecting a respiratory disease pandemic maybe somewhere in 2025. But unfortunately, it came much earlier than was anticipated. It just to tell you that these will happen again, and technology is one of the areas that can help us to be better prepared to predict these, as well as to be prepared to respond appropriately to them. And I'd like to move to you, Nana, still on this, after hearing from the Ghana Health Service, where do you think the private sector can play a better role in digitization and automation as part of pandemic preparedness in relationship, Ghana in relationship with Germany, especially given Germany's leadership in technology? Nana.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I said earlier, our German counterparts have the expertise, have the capacity. And I think one of our earlier speakers talked about attachments. Once you're going to do an attachment, you make sure that you build the permanent structures here, facilities in Ghana, so that the people that get attached have in resources. There are innovative ways of getting government to create the financial resources to build these kind of facilities. That the digitization will be required or be provided, that automation will be the order of the day, and that we have state-of-the-art research and medical facilities to practice their trade. Those are things that Dr. Nsiah and the government, the Ministry of Finance, and us on the WAPSCOM platform have been talking about. How do we create a resource? I think it's something difficult so far as the government is concerned, because you know, when the COVID hit, the government was able to provide some 60 million and all. We look into our German counterparts who have enormous resources, both financial and the technical, to assist us to create that quantum that will allow private sector to build the permanent facilities under the activity or Agenda 111, that when we do train our experts and get attached, they're not kept in Germany. They come back home to practice their trade. This way, the public will become the beneficiaries of these kind of attachments and training. So whether it's automation, whether it's utilization, whatever methodology that we adopt, we have to have a partnership between the German counterparts, government of Ghana, government of Germany, and the German businesses to be able to create the facilities that will enhance the public sector, the private sector delivery of medical services in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Nana. And I want to move to Dr. Gyamfi also to touch on this aspect of the private sector's involvement in cooperation with Germany in digitization automation towards pandemic prevention, so prediction, prevention, preparedness. Dr. Gyamfi. Dr. Gyamfi, we can't hear you. You may be muted.
Right. I'm sorry, John.
Good to go.
What Nana is talking about is of really great concern to us, everybody in the private sector. Many times, the most important thing we also even want to see, John and members on the panel, is basically, even for us who are already in the industry, we want to actually go and see what is happening out there. A lot of companies, many times, have complained that, look, I went to German embassy to get a visa to go and see this there, but I was not even given a visa. So, Your Excellency, that's another area. A lot of companies, MDs, they are not just going to have fun or tourism. They just want to go and understudy some MD, chief executive in German company for maybe 2-3 weeks and come back with new ideas. So that is another area we also want to see, the collaboration even between us owning companies locally, that we'll be able to do this cross-training among ourselves, just like Dr. Donkor was talking about. Doctors go there also to learn and bring back. I agree so much with Nana Osebonso. We are expecting a lot of companies to be established locally and really take advantage of this continental free trade agreement because of the certificate of origin. For German companies to expand and do well in Ghana, not everything will come through our government before it gets towards the private sector. We are talking about jaw private sector companies with private sector in Ghana. So we really want to find, I don't have the answer, the ways and means that we will be able to do this private sector, collaboration outside the government. The government can do whatever they can do with the government of Ghana, but the area that the companies in Germany can join hands with companies in Ghana will help us to be able to expand what we've done. I've did something which really worked out well for me. I sent 2 of my workers outside to go outside, one to Europe, one to America, just to go and spend 3 weeks to learn from some companies that came back. Trust me, they came back, they are new leaf. Even the way they think, their punctuality to work, the way they do things have even changed them. This is what the private sector is looking at. Opportunities for us to go and see what is happening there, bring it back and train our people to build the growth of Ghanaian businesses. And I think we'll go a long way. Automation is great. We can do all the things, but we need the human capacity. The mindset of our people working with us. Our major problem we have is not just the machines. Even the mindset of the employees is something we want to change. And any way that German company can help us to do that, we are willing to work along with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gyamfi. And I know Dr. Nsiah would like to respond directly to some of the things you mentioned, but even before he comes in, there's a question from Heinz, who's asking, how do private healthcare providers benefit directly from some of the interventions that are being proposed? I think you've answered that to a large extent, which is just the opening of more doors for the exchange. And you've highlighted some of the bottlenecks which sometimes hinder adequate collaboration and cooperation between companies. I don't know if there's anything specific more you want to add to that, Dr. Gyamfi, once you have the floor on how the private healthcare providers could benefit directly from this government-facilitated, German Ghanaian business opportunities within healthcare.
And I think we definitely need to enhance our relation with the AHK. Basically, we want to know the companies that are out there in what sectors. For example, when you talk about even AGI, there are 23 different sectors, starting with food all the way to everything. We want to be able to see what are the companies out there. How do we build this relationship without the public sector, without the government? How do we develop this? So any way that I think the German government embassy can help us to do that, we would like to do that. Definitely, as we are working with the Private Enterprise Foundation, there's so much we can do together. See, we try to walk alone, but when we walk alone, even though we go fast, there's not much we can accomplish. United together, the entire private sector of Ghana working together is the only way we can reduce the importation, and at the same time, through the collaboration, the German will get their part of the share through the local companies. And that's the way I think we should look at it more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gyamfi. I just want to invite, I can see Nana, your hand is up again on this particular issue. I'll just allow you a minute to comment on that. And in that also, since we are wrapping up this session, I want you to also articulate what your one singular wish would be for a tangible outcome of this effort to improve Ghana-German cooperation within healthcare. Nana? Nana, I'm not sure if you are there, but we can't hear you.
The key word is collaboration. Collaboration between private sector businesses and German counterparts. There's an institution in Germany, one of the biggest business groups, Africa Verein. It's now working with the Private Enterprise Federation and the various African business associations to build capacity to engage in production and, in Ghana and across Africa. As a Dr. D, we have to sit together with the Germans and say, where do you have the capacity to assist them? Where can you assist them? Then we come back to government. You see, it's not always that we're looking for funding from government. We can get government to participate in providing the other things that are incentives that private sector can take to our German counterparts and be able to work together to create the capacity locally. We need to build infrastructure as well as capacity in Ghana. If we don't, and we're going to rely on bringing things from overseas, it's always going to be imported. But now that the COVID has taught us we lack certain capacities, we now have to fall back on ourselves, get the training attachments gone, get the infrastructure developed, and then create the capacity to deliver the health services that I mentioned earlier that our people need. So those are the kind of collaborative effort that we need from our German counterparts.
Many thanks, and it's very clear, build capacity, build infrastructure locally. Dr. Nsiah, as we wrap up, perhaps you want to respond and also mention what your one wish as a concrete outcome of this effort to improve or to strengthen Ghana-German relations, particularly in the private sector for healthcare delivery. Dr. Nsiah. Dr. Nsiah, you may be muted. We can't hear you.
Very much, John. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, John? Hello?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Yeah. So thank you very much, John. What I'm saying that I'm a typical example of German transfer of technology to me. I did my first degree here. I did my surgery, Allgemeine Chirurgie in the Homburg, Saarland, and I came back.
Wow. Okay.
And the one I was in
Competence, you came back.
In Competence, I sent the Germans help us build a lot of capacity. We sent a lot of people there, and
Dr. Nsiah, you may be muted by mistake, so you may want to unmute.
Yeah, sorry. As I said, I'm a typical example of German technology transfer. I came back after my training. And when I was in Competence, I also practiced what I had when I went to Germany. And I sent a lot of people to Germany to train in anesthesiology, to train in radiology, to train in trauma, orthopedic surgery, and general surgery. And I can assure you that they are all back. Because Germans have something that they normally tell you. Immediately you read there, they ask you, where do you come from? When are you going back? They remind you that you have to go back. So I would say that the collaboration should start now. And now it should also be extended to the private sector for us to build human capital capacity in this country. Once we get the human capital capacity, and then we add the infrastructure, then it means in the sub-region will be the social piece of the sub-region. And to me, that's the only way that we have a meaningful collaboration between the German and there are a lot of investment opportunities in the country. Post-COVID, we should all join together and make sure that we collaborate and then come out as one global village of German technology. We'll move forward, and our medical tourism that is in the government policy document will be achieved, and then we can capture the whole of the sub-region, and also, who knows, maybe sub-Saharan Africa as a place to go for quality care services. And I also want to add quickly that apart from building the human capital development and also infrastructure, there's something that we want to do in this country, what I call the smart health. Teleradiology, teleconferencing, teleconsultation. so that we give quality, specialized healthcare to people everywhere that they stay, then we can achieve universal health coverage. So we also will be asking the German community to also collaborate as in this, as to have digital health, which we call smart. That's the way to go in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsiah. We're wrapping up, but I'd like to also ask you, Professor Donkor, especially given that Dr. Nsiah touched again on the need for training opportunities. Specifically, how do you think the private sector could come in to support, the private sector in Germany could come in to support with training of the human infrastructure needed for healthcare delivery in Ghana?
Okay, so thank you, John. Well, I think I always like to say that we are in one global village. And so our colleagues should see that as they help Ghana to improve upon human resources and infrastructure, it's also for their benefit, because the Germans who visit Ghana, Germans who live in Ghana, all stand to benefit from any improvements in the quality of health here. Now, from the training perspective, I've already alluded to the need for the private sector to see potential in working with young researchers, because some of the research that they may even be able to undertake with them may have benefits from both sides. And there'll be multiple examples of such research which have benefited not only the Ghanaians, but also the Germans who have invested in them. So I believe that they should also see, Ghana as a, relatively cheap source of labor, academic labor, and therefore investing in the academic setting here is worthwhile for their own growth. I think I want us to look at the post-COVID era not only from the perspective of what just the technological gains, but the point is, how are we going to position ourselves in the preventive sphere, in the care sphere, in the research sphere, and in the rehabilitation sphere? These are all challenges that the private sector need to think about, and I think some of the innovations are going to come from interrogating these areas. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Prof. Donkor, and I'd like to perhaps give the last word in this session to Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. Also, I just want to ask you for one wish that you'd like to come out concretely of this deliberate effort to strengthen the healthcare industry via German-Ghana private sector collaboration. From your position at the Ghana Health Service, what would be the one concrete outcome you'd like out of this?
Yes, thank you very much. So I think that I would like to talk about more collaboration between the German health system and the Ghana Health Service. But I think that specifically, as I said, we have had this SORMAS being implemented in Ghana. It was originally a pilot project, but it's now being rolled out. And the idea is that how we can be supported to make sure that it becomes a living tool for surveillance in Ghana. I would like to call on the government, the German government, and all private sector to ensure that this thing that we have started is actually well ingrained in the surveillance system in Ghana. And they would like to thank GCNet that have been supporting us and GIZ, but we want to make sure that the SORMAS becomes a tool for surveillance in Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe. Very clear, specific wish for strengthening of the SORMAS system. I'd like to mention to you, Stefanie has put in the chat that the delegation, I'm just trying to go back to my chat now, the delegation of German Industry and Commerce is ready to support any German company entering the Ghanaian market. They have great relationships like with AGI, and they are looking forward to further expand these relationships. So that's coming very directly to you. I'd also like to remind you that we have the exhibition booth open digital exhibition booth. We have about 36 exhibitors from Ghana and Germany on the platform. Do well to join these exhibition booths and see what there is to offer practically. We'll be going into more sessions. This time we'll be looking specifically at how we can unearth business opportunities in the Ghanaian healthcare sector. So going very specifically the pharmaceuticals industry. We'll look at dissecting Agenda 111 and what that means for German partnerships. Now specifically going more into research and academia. So we're going to dive deeper. And then finally, we'll look at the partnerships in healthcare and making Ghana an attractive business destination. So we're going to go into the details, hopefully, of all the issues that have been unearthed in this opening and in the first panel. And so with that, I'd like to thank very much Dr. Aseidu-Bekoe, Professor Peter Donkor, Dr. Gyamfi, and also Bonsu and Dr. Nsiah for this really inspiring first panel, and certainly to all those who gave the keynote address, including Professor Heinz, Walter, Dr. Holger, and Mr. Roland, Göhde. Of course, Dr. Gyamfi and Dr. Asare also gave opening remarks. With that, I'd like to remind you that we're coming back within the next 50 minutes, where we have our next panel on unearthing the business opportunities in the Ghanaian health sector. You shouldn't miss that. I'd like to hand over back to the organizers for any housekeeping announcements. Richard, if you're on the line, you may take over from here. Looking forward to seeing you in the next 50 minutes. Richard.
Thank you, Dr. Amoasi. Yes, as he just mentioned, the next section will begin exactly at 12. So for all panelists, all visitors or participants, kindly go to the auditorium at 12 and click on the link to join. All speakers will join accordingly using their profile. So this is the announcement I would like to make at this point. So we will break now and make the time to visit the exhibition booths of individual companies, also to learn new technologies. So we will end this section here for now and see you at 12 p.m. Thank you very much.